I actually saw Rey Mysterio close out the Super Show here in Mexico City.
Oh, sweet.
Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio was the headliner.
Yeah.
And everybody booed Dominik Mysterio. Like, he was the last person in the ring, and people stayed extra time to boo Dominik.
Dominik Mysterio is bragging that as North American champion, it was a bigger deal than being U.S. champion because he gets to defend the title all over North America. And he actually got a chance to wrestle in Mexico City over the weekend. WWE sent us a press release touting the massive crowds and all the records they set. They broke venue records, becoming the highest attendance and highest grossing event ever held in Mexico at the cities that they ran in. They also set a record for merchandise sales in Mexico City. More than 25,000 attended both nights. And the stars that they listed who were there were Roman Reigns, Rey Mysterio, Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, Ronda Rousey, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, Dominik Mysterio, Charlotte Flair, and Santos Escobar. And we talked on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post-show tonight after Raw to somebody who attended the Mexico City show on Saturday night. And they shared the reaction that Dominik Mysterio got in that arena. And it was no different than the United States. Well, maybe it was more intense. They booed him out of the arena. Dominik, I won't say he's a worldwide sensation, but as a North American champion, he can brag about being hated south of the United States border. So we're going to bring you that conversation today with our on-site correspondent who attended Saturday night. He relays what it was like in the building, not just for Dominik, although the focus was on Dominik, but also the crowd reactions for all the stars and what it was like in the arena compared. He's from Washington, D.C. He's in Mexico City for a temporary basis. And so he's been to a lot of shows in the United States. And so he talked about what the crowd was like in comparison. So we're going to get to that clip. It runs about 10, 11 minutes here. It is a splice of this Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post show that I just got done live streaming. We had live callers, email input. Kelly Wells from the PW Torch Daily Cast, our weekly Tuesday night show that also streams live, that covers NXT. He's been covering NXT for a long time. We talked a lot about the NXT involvement in on the WWE main roster right now, and Raw in particular. And so he was my co-host, but we talked with our on-site correspondent who attended in Mexico and surprised us with a detailed on-site report of what that experience was like. You can listen to the entire Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post show, which we stream live and then offer on demand later that night, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, following Raw, Dynamite, Collision, and SmackDown, although SmackDown and Collision, I got them out of order, but you know what I mean. And you can join us live at WadeKellerPostShow.com. About 5-10 minutes after the shows go off the air, closer to 5 minutes, we go live, and we do take calls. We invite you, our YouTube audience, to join us on those shows, but you have to just stream the audio. We just do an audio version of those live. And then you can subscribe by searching Wade Keller in your podcast app and download the complete shows. The post shows are the red logo show. If you search Wade Keller, you'll see a blue logo show also that looks the same. That's our regular podcast, not the post shows. But we invite you to search Wade Keller, subscribe to both for free. And while you're at it, search PW Torch. That includes the Daily Cast, the PW Torch Daily Cast, which includes Kelly Wells' show covering NXT. He's got various co-hosts. They also take live calls. That airs live Tuesday nights and drops usually on Wednesdays on the PW Torch Daily Cast feed. All right, so let's get to this clip, and then I'll be back with some follow-up after that. Charles, thanks for calling. What's on your mind about Raw tonight?
Hey, I'm calling from Mexico City, and I actually saw Rey Mysterio close out the Super Show here in Mexico City.
Oh, sweet.
Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio was the headliner.
Yeah.
And everybody booed Dominik Mysterio. Like, he was the last person in the ring, and people stayed extra time to boo Dominik. And the result, it's a spoiler, but Dominik cost Rey Mysterio the championship versus Rey Mysterio, and just everyone booed Dominik. He really had the huge pop, and he was like the number one heel in WWE.
Yeah, I'm not at all surprised. That is awesome. What brings you to Mexico City? Just WWE, or are you there for other reasons now?
I'm doing an art residency here in Mexico City. I'm originally from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I got to catch up on some Lucha Libre while I was here. The excitement, I was in the nosebleed seats. I got tickets last minute, but the stadium was packed from bottom to top. Every single seat was filled, and everyone was booing Dominik. The LWO had a pretty big pop, but Dominik's pop was bigger than Rey Mysterio's. I couldn't believe it.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. What struck you about the crowd in Mexico City compared to United States and Canada and even the UK? Was there anything about how they're reacting to the WWE product that you experienced in person that stands out as different?
Well, they have a long tradition of wrestling here, and I was adding 1 and 2 together and seeing how much the Guerrero family had a history here in Mexico. There was huge chance. It was interesting, a Spanish-speaking audience saying, "This is awesome, this is awesome," with an accent. That was really surprising to me. They are diehard fans, I think the people that should be booed are booed. The people that should be cheered are being cheered all the way down the line. They opened the show with Cody Rhodes versus Money in the Bank. I'm losing his name right now.
Damian Priest.
So Cody Rhodes went over Damian Priest, but they made sure that all their Latin stars were well positioned in the show. So Damian Priest had a huge match. Rey Mysterio, of course, headline. Dominik had a match with Seth Rollins, and that was the opening was Cody versus Priest, and then the halfway through the show was Dominik versus Seth Rollins, and then they ended off with Rey Mysterio. So the Judgment Day was all throughout the show. They interfered with the matches. They were just excellent. I felt like it was the 90s and NWO was back.
Wow.
I've been a fan for a really long time.
Was there anybody that got a reaction that surprised you either more or less, that it was either more or less of a reaction than you would have thought if you were in somewhere in the United States? Besides the ones you already talked about, obviously, with Rey, obviously just, going to be mega over in the main event.
Shotzi. I don't know if Shotzi had a Latin background. I know she's from California. I saw the new haircut, but people were cheering Shotzi's name, which was interesting. When I heard there was a triple threat for the women's title, it was Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and I thought Bianca Belair would come out, but actually Shotzi came out and she took the pin from Asuka. They put all the belts on the line too. That was pretty interesting. So the Super Show in Mexico City pretty much was like a night of champions of sorts. My question was the European title. So I was a big fan in the 90s where like D'Lo Brown would get the European title, and I saw Triple H get the European title. And I'm thinking that like this North American title could turn into the European title and really elevate the lower mid card. And I think Dominik could be the champion of the lower mid card. Do you think he should start? My question is, do you think he should start defending the championship on Raw? And it was really interesting to see the Judgment Day have so much gold. Everybody had a title or a briefcase. And Finn Balor was not he was not in Mexico. That was a surprise for me.
Interesting.
He didn't show up.
Yeah. So yeah, Kelly, and talk about that. Obviously more titles devalues the existing title. So it's not always a good thing when you add a title to the mix, but it does work, as Charles points out, for Judgment Day to be, there's a Money in the Bank briefcase and Rhea's a champion and now Dominik's a champion and Balor is vowing he will be champion. It gives them, extra oomph. It gives them extra credibility. Should that NXT North American title, is there any downside to Dominik taking it with him everywhere as long as he holds it and hold it for a while and be defending it on Raw, be defending it on house shows?
Maybe for a few months. When he won it, I thought for sure that he would just lose it back at Great American Bash. Well, first I thought he won't win it. And then when I realized it was a possibility, I said, well, they could just have him win it and then drop it 9 days later, 10 days later at the Bash. And now that the Bash is upon us, and now that he's done what he's done on the main roster and like had that visually, it makes me think maybe he's going to hold it a little longer. I don't know that I would put another singles championship on the main show. I think they do well with what they've got. I don't know that they need one, but if they want one that kind of, pardon me for even bringing up the championship, but the 24/7 championship gave something to do to some of the wrestlers that otherwise were not even getting TV time. And if the North American Championship could kind of do that, then that would be fine. But then how do you define that division other than kind of just quietly saying these are the guys who don't get to win very much. This is their championship. So I think that the title has more value on NXT. NXT does have enough guys at any given time because they're always trying so many different stars that I can see 2 championships having been. It's never felt like it was too many since they had it. 3 was pushing it, but they were trying to do a cruiserweight like actual division. But yeah, the North American Championship won out, of course. I hadn't considered it. I don't think that it would be a bad thing for Dominik to hold it for a while and for it to be a sub-story on NXT about how everybody's annoyed that Dominik, of all people, is holding their belt hostage.
Yeah.
He is the perfect guy for them to get up in arms about doing that. And then somebody could really get a rub from being the one to finally wrest it from his waist.
Let me go back to Charles for anything else he might want to bring up here. Go ahead, Charles.
No problem. You asked if anyone had a pop or had less than a pop. Austin Theory was kind of flat. He had a United States Championship match against the head of the LWO. I forget his name.
Santos Escobar. His pop wasn't as big as I thought it would be.
And the match was kind of flat. To see Santos Escobar, someone that's from Mexico, waving a Mexican flag, he didn't get as much a pop that I thought he would have. And then Austin Theory didn't get much of a pop too. And I feel like he's holding the U.S. title hostage. And I think that like Dominik Mysterio holding that belt could challenge people like LA Knight and really, even if he goes 50-50, it'll give value to the lower mid-card. And I think that's what was so strong about the late 90s. The lower mid-card was strong. The D'Lo Browns, the Mark Henrys, the Triple H's, the X-Pac holding that European title really made the lower mid-card matches matter.
Kelly, talk about that. You talked about how long you were watching in a concentrated, consistent fashion the main roster there. What do you think about that comparison?
Well, I think that it's apt. That is a time where I thought they were really pushing it with the number of titles. I would have been anti-European title, but they started out by putting it on British Bulldog and Owen Hart, 2 of my very favorite wrestlers. So I was like, well, I'll give it a leash for now. Because guys that I really like are holding championships. But yeah, I've looked at the lineage of that title a few times, and some of it is just like, yeah, this was really good stuff, and some of it is like, wow, why did they not get rid of the championship before they started giving it to guys like that? But yeah, it was. I think that the North American Championship could be that on the main roster, but it has become such a workhorse title, such an important title and a title of pride in NXT that hopefully they would know what they were sacrificing just to get a little bit of name value on that championship when they could, if they wanted, just create another championship.
By the way, Charles says he's going to send us a detailed report on the full show, so we'll publish that at pwtorch.com this week. So if you're not visiting our main website, pwtorch.com, make a daily habit of it. We've got exclusive features covering the latest news, live TV, live pay-per-view coverage, special columns you won't find anywhere else, breaking insider news from my sources. I've been covering wrestling for 35 years. I have interviewed some of pro wrestling's biggest names. I can text and contact people all over the wrestling industry and get information that nobody else has. And if you're visiting visiting pwtorch.com regularly. You know that, so make that part of your daily stop. We also put up cool flashback reports on major TV shows, pay-per-views, and house shows. Going back 20 years, we run house show reports that we published originally 20 years ago on a semi-regular basis on pwtorch.com too. So check that out. I think you'll like our approach to covering wrestling. There's a lot less bombast and a lot less clickbait and a lot less blowing things out of proportion. And after studying this business for 35 years as part of my job and learning from some big name promoters and some of the most respected wrestlers and bookers of the last 50 years, really, I can sometimes bring a sense of a level-headedness to some of the outrage, like this LA Knight thing that everybody's freaking out about. I watched some people reacting to my reports about LA Knight having backstage issues in terms of giving a good impression to colleagues in management. And I don't venture off away into that area very often, and I was sort of like shaking my head at some of the takes that people had, panicking over what happened last Friday on LA Knight. You can read my Keller's take on that matter at pwtorch.com, my editorial, kind of laying out what the story was with LA Knight and why he didn't win Friday, but why it's nothing to worry about. And it's just not complicated, people. You don't have to be freaked out. He's going to get a big push. Vince McMahon likes him, and he's doing fine. But he does have a reputation that follows him around, that sometimes he doesn't play the political game very well, and that can work against people. So check that out at pwtorch.com, and we appreciate you watching this video. By the way, if you enjoy what we're doing here, please subscribe. Click the subscribe button. If you like this video in particular, of course, like it. And I do interact in the comments area with you guys. So if you have anything to say about Dominik, I'm kind of curious how many of you, if you're thinking of going to a WWE show that Dominik is on, where Dominik ranks in terms of the reason you're going and what you're looking forward to. Does being in an arena and booing Dominik when he walks out, or booing Dominik when he holds a microphone and starts talking, is that like the number one reason you would go, or is it like top 3? Or do you not care at all and you think it's kind of overblown and silly? I want to hear from you on that, and anything else that we talked about with Charles, our on-site correspondent, and Kelly Wells also, of course, on this clip. But don't forget, search Wade Keller in your podcast app and subscribe to our post shows. It's free. And again, we do them after Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, and Collision throughout the week. And we welcome you to listen live, and you can find the live stream at pwtorch.com in my TV reports. So if you go to pwtorch.com and look for the Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, or Collision TV report that I publish, at the top and bottom I include a link to the live stream. So you can just listen live 5 minutes after the show goes off the air, call us or stream it. But if that doesn't work for you, if it's not convenient, then just download the show later on your podcast app. All right, that does it for me for today. Thanks again for joining us. Spread the word about our YouTube channel, and we will talk to you guys next time.